Hey, Aubrey, how are you today?
I'm great, Lindsay. I have a fun question for you. Do you
Okay.
ever play April Fool's jokes on anyone?
Oh my gosh, not lately, but when I was a kid, of course, a lot of kids were playing jokes, right? I think I got my car toilet papered once, but I
Oh
don't know what
boy.
the joke is with that though. I'm not really sure what the joke is. Like there's toilet paper all over your car.
April
Um,
Fools. Your car's toilet paper. That's funny.
yeah.
Same. I
What?
did it a lot when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
remember we pranked my dad really well once. We took a
Ooh.
wet towel and put it just outside a bathroom, and we went and found him and told him the bathroom was flooded and he needed to take care of it. He was so upset, and he went and opened the door, and we were like, April Fools.
That's
We
so
thought we were
funny.
so clever.
It really sounds like a kid's joke, right? It's really
Totally.
good. It's really good.
Yeah, this was
Um,
interesting. We got a question in our community about this. Caroline, who's
mhm.
from France, she's amazing. And she posted asking everyone, like, what's this like in your culture, in your country?
Yes.
Do you celebrate April Fools? What's that like? And so many people were answering. I was loving reading all the answers. And I thought this would be so
Yeah.
fun to talk about today.
Yeah, this is what I love about our community. We're sharing cultures, we're sharing ideas, we're connecting with each other. But guys, go ahead and hit that follow button as a way to connect with our community of listeners, right? And with us so you don't miss the
Yes.
5 episodes a week that we put out. So hit the follow button right inside your podcast player. Okay?
Yes. And we're also
Good.
teaching some vocabulary here because in our Q&A, we had a question about gotcha. One of our students
Mhm.
had heard gotcha used a couple of different ways. So we're
Mhm.
going to share the ways that we use this and a couple of alternatives in
Yes.
English. And then
Yes.
stay to the end. We're going to dive into April Fools, April 1st, and what that looks like around the world.
Yeah, it's so fun. And I love that we're covering the term gotcha because nothing could be more native and natural than this, right?
Seriously. Yes.
All right, let's do a little role play, Aubrey, to kick it off today.
Yeah, because this first option is we say gotcha after like an
Yes.
April Fool's joke, after we prank someone, if they fall
Mhm.
for it, and we'll just be like, gotcha. So
Yes.
here's a little role play. I'll start us out.
Okay.
I forgot to pick up your dry cleaning. Sorry.
Oh, bummer. No worries.
Gotcha. Here it is.
Oh, so funny. Oh my god.
It's really interesting. It depends on the person. Some people love playing pranks, and some people
Yeah.
think it's funny to be pranked, and some people have no patience for it. My partner,
No
if you try
patience.
to prank him, he would be so annoyed. He does not think it's
Really?
funny, especially if
Interesting.
it's like more serious, right? If because sometimes I would want to prank him, and it would be like, oh, oh, our daughter broke her leg at school or something, and I'd be like,
Uh,
gotcha. He's like, no, that's not funny.
that's
It can't be serious. It can't be something that someone's really upset about, right?
right, right. It can't cause your heart to sink. You know that feeling when your
Right.
heart sinks?
Please don't do
Um,
that to me.
yeah,
Right.
you don't want it. Yeah, yeah, different material, right? For sure.
Exactly. Maybe
So, like,
little less serious things. I'm like, "Oh, I forgot
mhm,
to pick up Will. Can you go get him?" "Gotcha. Just kidding."
gotcha.
He still would be annoyed. He's like, "No, not funny."
Yeah, for sure. I love it. So that's one way that we use this term gotcha after someone pulls a
Fool
prank on us.
us.
They say
Mhm.
that to us, right? It's the
Exactly.
prankster that says it, right?
Yep. If they
So
fooled you, if you bought it, if you believed it, then they might
you
say,
bought it.
"Gotcha." They could also
Yeah.
say, like, "Fooled ya," right?
Told
There's other
ya.
things we say, and especially kids will say this. My kids love this, like, "Gotcha."
Yeah, my go-to is just kidding, right?
Just kidding.
But
Just
just kidding
joking.
has been repurposed in other ways. So that's another episode for
True.
another day, Aubrey. But what would be another way we use gotcha?
Yeah, we also use it just to mean I understand, right? Let's
Mm.
see how that would look in a role play.
All right. I need you to arrive at 7 p.m. if you can.
Gotcha. I'll be there.
All right. So that's
Same
totally
word.
different. I'm not playing a prank on you
Very.
here. I'm dead
Yes.
serious, right?
Right. This
Uh,
is not, and it's interesting how this is so sort of slang. And when we spell it, it's Gotcha, but really that would mean like, I have got you. But even in
yes,
this, which is a less informal scenario, this might even be at work. I still would be like, gotcha,
totally. No, I think this
meaning
is a
I
good one.
understand.
I think this is a great one for work
Yeah.
because it's important to make it clear that you understand a task, right? If you've been assigned a task, but sometimes it's hard to find something that's not too formal to respond to that. I
Yeah. And this is
understand,
quick. It's so
right?
fast. Gotcha. Yeah.
Mhm.
Got it
Yeah.
or gotcha.
Got it, gotcha. Yeah, I love that one. What else,
And
Aubrey?
then one thing I want to point out that I'm just realizing as we teach this, if you wrote this out, right, it would be, I have got you, and we're
Mhm.
saying it quickly and we're shortening it to gotcha. What's
Mhm.
also interesting is when we say like, I've got you, that really
Yes.
means something else in English. It would be more like, I've got you covered. I'm supporting you. So if you
Mm.
need me to sub for something, like let's say your volleyball team
Yeah.
needs a sub and you text me, I'd be like, I've got you. That means I
Ah.
will be there. I will cover for
Mhm.
you.
Interesting, interesting.
But I wouldn't
Yeah,
say
so
gotcha. I wouldn't say gotcha. I'd say got you. I've got you.
that's why, again, learning context matters so much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we also
huge.
want to teach a more formal way to say this if you are at work and you're
Okay.
trying to speak more formally and you want to tell someone you understand what they say. You can say understood, but this is
Mhm.
quite a bit more formal. We don't use
Mhm.
this conversationally, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah, understood or I understand. Again, yeah,
Hmm.
quite formal, quite formal. So, let's do an example.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Here's
Same,
yeah, it's the same
same
thing. It's the same thing. All right.
scenario,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
let's look at how different it is if I say
Yeah.
understood.
I need you to arrive at 7 p.m. if you can.
Understood. I'll be there.
Yes. And also your tone of voice kind of dropped there,
Yes.
right?
It feels
Like,
so much more formal.
yes. And that just
Interesting.
depends for our listeners on what kind of workplace are you working at, guys, right? What is the environment like? And that's just something you want to do a lot of listening when you're new in a place.
Yeah, and
What do
this is
people
interesting to think about too. I feel like sometimes someone will say understood when there's hidden meaning here. Like if someone
Oh.
is being criticized, or I think about couples, like if someone is being asked to do something and they don't want to, and they sort of want to get the meaning across that they're not happy about it, but they will do it, they might say like
Mm.
understood, right? And it's there's the tone and
Ah.
there's the facial expressions, right?
Yes. Yes, sometimes for sure. I mean, we
Right?
can say a
Oh,
lot through just taking,
understood.
like, arbitrary words and
Uh-huh.
adding tone or understanding context or understanding history of relationships and things, right?
Right, it's interesting, right?
Mhm.
So you yeah, I mean, you never know, but this is where communication can break down if someone's
Yeah.
being passive aggressive and they're just
Yeah.
like, "Understood." And then you're like, "Wait, what's understood? What do you mean? I feel like there's more here. Let's talk it out."
Yeah, don't be passive aggressive, right? That's
That's
not a
the
good
moral of the
character
story. Don't be
trait.
passive aggressive. Right.
I love it. All right. Okay, Aubrey, we're back from break, and I am so excited to hear what our listeners said about April Fools in their countries. Again, this is where we asked our listeners to share about this, or I think Caroline asked our listeners to share
Yes.
about this inside the community. What did people say?
Yes, I love this. And first, Caroline shared about France. And having lived in France, I was aware of this tradition that I love. It's Poisson d'Avril, which means April fish. And
Okay.
children will have these paper fishes that they're trying to tape to each other's backs or to
Uh
someone's
huh.
back to see how long it's there without you noticing. So on April Fool's Day, people might have a fish on their back. And it's so adorable. I think it's the cutest tradition. But
That's cool.
interestingly, she said this is becoming less and less popular, even among kids.
Oh,
She said
really?
sometimes it's seen as sort of cheesy. So this is interesting to see how traditions change, how
Yeah.
thing and but maybe where Caroline, she lives in Brittany, it might be
Mm-hmm.
less popular there, but maybe elsewhere a little bit. Who knows, right?
Yeah, things kinda go out of style, go in and out of style. Maybe people are not interacting as much in person, so something else is becoming more popular to do, right?
Right.
Interesting.
And she
Yeah.
also said this was interesting, and several people mentioned this, that where they live, the media will publish pranks. And then
Ah.
everyone is looking to spot fake news all day. There'll be like an announcement of something that happens, and then you have to figure out if it's the news media pulling an April Fool's joke or if it's real
Ah.
news.
Seems like
Interesting.
a good
I know.
exercise to
We don't
exercise
really
our
do that
brain.
in the States, do we? Not that I'm aware of.
We probably should to build our ability to recognize fake news.
It's so true.
Yeah, so I love that. I fully endorse that strategy. Good
I know. I
stuff.
think
What
that's so
about
fun.
Brazil? What
Yeah,
about
so
yeah.
Aden, one of our students from Brazil, she said that they celebrate April Fools with like dad's pranks, dad jokes, silly jokes
Uh-huh.
and sometimes fake news, like she was saying, but nothing serious. So it's more like you, kind of like I was saying, you
Yeah.
would tell someone something happened that's not true and just see if they believe you. And you're
Uh-huh.
trying to have a poker face, which means no reaction. You're trying to not make it obvious that you're joking.
Yeah.
And then she said your goal is just to laugh and see if you
Uh-huh.
can make your friend appear foolish for believing, for being gullible, right?
Yeah, so dad jokes. I love that term. I wonder why it's called dad jokes, not mom jokes.
I
I
know,
mean,
right?
yeah.
Maybe just because dads are sometimes a little cheesier.
Goofy. I know my dad was when I was growing up.
And
He was
mine,
definitely cheesy. Yeah, goofy. I
in
don't
my
know. He
experience, that holds true that, like, dads love
yeah.
dad jokes.
Yeah, it kinda holds true, right? It does.
Mm.
That's interesting. What about in Sweden? Do we have a
Yeah,
student
so
from
in
Sweden?
Sweden,
Yeah.
and I looked up to here, and this is pronounced Första April. It just
Uh-huh.
means 1st of April or April Fool's Day. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. I looked up the pronunciation, but I don't speak Swedish.
Mhm.
But
Right.
this is interesting. It sounds like it's a pretty big deal in Sweden. It's a day when people are allowed to play practical jokes and hoaxes, similar to in the US. But
Mhm.
there's this cool rhyme. I'm going to try to say this in Swedish too. I was trying to look up some of the pronunciation. And for everyone out there who's from Sweden, forgive me. Leave us a comment on YouTube to let me know how I did. So it's like, April din dumma sil, jag kan lura dig vart jag vill, which means
Wow.
April, you silly herring, like a red herring. We use that in English.
Mhm.
I can fool you anywhere I want to. So it's this little chant that they say. If someone believes the joke, then they have this chant in Swedish to sort of be like, gotcha. But it's like
Gotcha.
longer to be like, I
Wow.
fooled you.
Yeah, pronunciation sounds great to me, but I'm not a good judge of
I'm going to
Swedish.
be looking on the YouTube to see. Let me
Yeah.
know. Let me know how I did.
Yeah, don't forget everyone, we do have a YouTube channel, so go over and check that out. Hit the subscribe button and leave a comment under this video to let us know how Aubrey's pronunciation was.
Yes, I want
I'm
to know.
impressed. I'm
Thank you.
impressed.
We'll see.
What
But
about
also in
Germany?
Sweden, these
Yeah.
the fake news and media is also big. Media outlets,
Oh.
and there's you can look online and see all of the biggest ones throughout the years.
Mhm.
One of them, they there was like an announcement in the media that like part of an island had broken off and was like coming towards, and like a lot of people believed it. And that
That's
made me think of,
interesting.
there was one thing in US culture, the War of the Worlds, when they were reading War of the Worlds on the radio. Did you hear about that? And people thought it was real.
Yes.
So it wasn't an April Fool's
Yes.
joke, but that's the only thing
Yeah.
I can think of in US culture that was sort of
Ah.
similar, where people
Yeah.
collectively believed this.
Right. Well, we do have The Onion, right, which is just
True.
sarcastic, not sarcastic, what's the word? Just
Satire. And it's
satire,
not
yes.
just on April Fools, it's all the
Yeah, all
time.
the
If you read
time.
The Onion, you know it's
Yeah.
satire.
Yeah. That's sort of similar, I guess.
Yeah, it's so
And what
fun.
about Germany? Our student Helmuth, Helly, we call is his
Yes, I
nickname.
always like, "Call me Helly,
Yeah.
Helmut." Yeah, so
Yeah.
I loved this. So it's sort of similar. They do celebrate April Fools by sort of pranking each other. And he
Mhm.
shared a story. He tried to prank people at work, and he like changed the shift plan in their
Oh.
WhatsApp group. And so he
Ah.
changed the starting time for the day shift from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m.,
Oh, no.
confusing the staff. But then he said, unfortunately, a lot of employees believed it and like I think came in early. Maybe he said it caused all these problems.
Oh,
So
no. That
I
kind of
love that he shared this story, but it definitely goes to show if people believe it, you have to let them know before like real problems occur that you
Yes.
were fooling them.
Yeah, that can happen I feel like I did something in high school. My friends and I devised a joke that really had, like, real consequences, but I can't remember what we did.
Oh, I'm
Sometimes this
curious.
does happen, right? Because
That's
maybe
funny.
you have to tell a lie, tell a fib, and then, yeah, someone shows up at the wrong time or something goes wrong. It's kinda stressful.
Yes. Oh,
So
that's funny. I'm curious. Maybe by the time we do our quiz, if you remember that,
maybe,
let
yeah.
us know. If you guys
Okay.
are subscribers in Apple, then or have our app, then
Yes.
you may be able to hear the
Mhm.
quiz, and maybe Lindsay
Love it.
could share that with us because I'd
Love
like
it.
to hear it if you
I'll try to
remember.
come up with it. I'll try to
Yes.
come up with it. Aubrey, what's our takeaway for today? We covered a lot of good stuff, right? We talked about
Yes.
gotcha and the different things that can mean. We talked about April Fools and what we do, what people do around the world.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Customs that you have in your country and your culture, something similar may exist elsewhere in the world. And this, I
Mhm.
feel like, really opens us up to realizing we're more alike than we are different when we
Yes.
see so many shared traditions. I love that this came up in our community and members were sharing this interesting information.
Mhm.
Come back to YouTube. Like Lindsay said, leave us a comment. What is this like where you live? Do you celebrate April Fools? Have you ever pranked someone? Leave a comment and let us know.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what our listeners say to answer that. Good stuff. All right, Aubrey. Well, thanks for being on and bringing these quotes from our students. Love
So
it.
fun. Awesome. See you next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.